Wednesday, 5th November 2003. The second day I arrived at Baduba, the US base in Iraq. It is intense here. I hear gunshots and bombs every night, shooting to our base. My colleague was injured because he triggered the IED on the roadside yesterday, and thank God I learned how to treat such injuries before coming here. This morning I saw a big mushroom just a few miles away. It was an explosion. I followed the soldiers on the truck and get over there to see what happened. You definitely panic here even when you've trained before, but this is my job, and I wish I can go back home safe and sound. Friday, 7th November 2003. These 2 days were quiet, so I talked to the soldiers that I follow. Most of them have trauma because they have to kill so many people. One of the soldiers, Ryan, told me that he shot dead a boy the other day because the boy was holding a gun. He felt so guilty and has dreamt of the boy several times at night. This is Johnson Lai's diary written when he was working as a combat journalist in Iraq. Johnson is from the Associated Press and was sent to Afghanistan and Iraq during the Iraq War in 2003. We have him to talk to us on the phone and share his experience with us. Hi, Johnson.
Hello.
So can you describe a bit how did you report and gather information there, and how did you send back information?
First of all, I think before we went to assignment like involving war zone or the combat coverage, there always be an advisor, even either the local producer or the Asia editor will actually give us some information like the stuff we need to bring, flak jacket, helmet, and what we are going to do over there beforehand. So I think for covering news within the hostile environments, I think it's quite important to listen or getting the advice from the local colleagues, producer or editor. And when I actually arrived at the base, embedded with troop, it's very important things, I think, for all the journalists is to build up a good relationship with soldiers or with the public affairs officer. You know, that's the source where you can get information. If you have a good connection, then you build up the trust, and they will invite you to attend their briefing. So during the briefing, you will know where they are going to and where the ambulance will be parked and where is the safe way to pull out from the area. So I think it's very important you have that connection and relationship, and in order to obtain your news source and information.
I see. So I saw that at least 150 journalists were killed in the Iraq War. How did you ensure your safety back then while following the army? Is there any protective measure, or how close did you get to the actual warfire?
Every journalist like this, before the editor sent us into this hostile environment, everyone has to go through this training organized by retired British Special Forces. And during training, we learn a lot, for example, about the first aid. Every maybe 3 years or 5 years, there's a refreshment for journalists to recall what to do. For example, your colleague mistakenly step into the minefield, how you're going to help him to get out of the minefield. Or someone next to you got injured by the roadside bomb, and how do you offer the first aid to your colleague and your friends? Something like that. Safety is always priority. We were told if you think it's not safe, it's dangerous, first things to think about your personal safety before you pursue the next step or covering or filming something. So always make sure the place where you stay is safe and you are able to cover news and deliver your footage safely.
How would you describe the role of media in the war?
Well, of course, people want to know what happened on the ground. And for journalists to be there, we can tell the truth. Perhaps something that the local government or soldier, they don't want us to know. But I think because journalists been there and covering the first-hand news, so at least you can tell people what's going on the ground. If something like government something wrongdoing, then you have a reporter on the ground. You can tell the truth, and the local people suffering on the wall, and then you have coverage of the local situation to tell to the world. So perhaps you can get the situation can be changed by the supply or the support from outside world. So it's quite important. Like agency, they send their journalists to go to the hostile environment to cover the first-hand and to offer the latest information to the world, so they can have a better understanding about what's going on in that country, in that area.
One last question. Do you think press freedom is upheld there?
It depends. I mean, when I was there, I'll propose my idea, and then I talk to the PAO about my plan, what I want to do. But not always they will agree. It depends. So, but basically they won't actually interrupt our coverage. So what we see, what happening in front of camera, basically we can film. That's no problem. But for some sensitive item or some like the special forces, they don't want to be identified, then they don't want us to film or to go near those places they don't want to be seen. So it's really it's kind of tricky, but you have to build up this connection and relationship in order for them to trust you, for you to do something further. I think it's quite okay. They welcome journalists to follow them for every mission. They also want to tell to the people around the world what they are doing on the ground. So they are quite okay for us to join them. And but on the other hand, the safety is another burden for them. They have to carry on the mission, and they also need to look after us. They don't want journalists injured by the roadside bomb or something like that. So it's quite important. Like I say earlier, you need to build up this trust and a relationship with the commander, soldier, and the unit you are embedded with.
I see. Thank you very much, Johnson. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope that you have learned more about how conflicts reporting works on the ground. See you again.